The story begins in a rural, mist-shrouded village, nestled in the shadow of tall, unyielding cliffs that seem perpetually crowned by dark clouds. The village harbors dark stories about the nearby cave, passed down through generations. Our protagonist, a writer named Thomas, arrives intrigued by tales of melodies emanating from the cave, rumored to enchant and drive listeners to madness. His first night in the village is spent collecting stories at the local tavern, a place dense with the weight of dire warnings and superstitions told in hushed tones. He learns of the recent disappearance of an explorer named Eliza, who was last seen heading towards the cave. The following day, Thomas hikes toward the cave after gathering scant supplies and convincing a reluctant local guide to accompany him partway. Their path winds through thick woods, gnarled trees clawing at the sky, until they reach the mouth of the cave, yawning wide like a beast. The guide refuses to go further, citing personal experiences with the haunting songs that slip like whispers through the air. Alone, Thomas pushes forward, his heartbeat synchronizing with the pulsating echo of distant, otherworldly songs. As he journeys deeper, the temperature drops and the melodies grow louder, filling the space with an unholy choir that seems alive, pulsating. Deep within the cave, Thomas encounters relics of past explorers who ventured too far, a flashlight here, a dropped journal there. The walls are etched with ancient symbols and primitive drawings. As he traces his fingers over these worn carvings, he sees them as a timeline of the cave's cursed history. The songs grow louder, more distinct, weaving tales of lament and loss. Thomas feels a strange connection to them, an inexplicable pull that clouds his thoughts with fragmented visions of the past. He struggles to separate reality from the illusions whispered by the voices around him. As Thomas delves deeper, the whispers envelop him completely, drowning out rational thought. His surroundings seem to warp. He soon loses track of time. Days, hours, or minutes, it all blurs into an unending twilight, drenched in melancholy. He's haunted by visions of Eliza, seeing her wandering ahead, looking back with eyes filled with serene madness. Thomas tries following, but can never reach her, her figure fading into the stone walls. Mania and clarity intermingle, leaving him questioning the nature of the cave and the sanity he thought he possessed. Emerging into a vast underground chamber, Thomas is greeted by a macabre sight, a choir of ghostly figures, seemingly enraptured in song. These apparitions, in varying states of decay, are locked in eternal harmony, their voices echoing with a poignant, unending sorrow. Thomas stands transfixed, his mind overwhelmed by their haunting melody that seems to draw at his very soul. This chamber, with its cathedral-like grandeur and filled with the ethereal ghost choir, represents the pulse of the cave's eerie song. As Thomas gazes upon the ghostly choir, he notices the figure of an elderly woman, separate from the others, silently directing the choir. Her presence exudes an aura of forlorn leadership, and she seems to communicate with Thomas through eyes filled with centuries of agonizing loneliness. Words form in his mind, sing or be forgotten, lost to the shadows, echoing with unspoken wisdom. The old woman reaches towards him, offering a semblance of understanding, as if petitioning him to join their tragic opus. Tendrils of madness weave their way into his consciousness, as Thomas feels himself weighed by an ancient sadness, driven by an escalating sense of desperation. Thomas starts to hum along with the choir despite initial resistance. The song demands his deepest secrets, flooding his mind with memories he thought long buried, old wounds reopened with every note. This painful catharsis draws him further into the cave's chilling embrace, as he unwittingly lends his own voice to the chorus of souls. Thomas fights to retain sanity, but the struggle becomes a battle against the intoxicating allure of joining this otherworldly choir in its eternal lament. Thomas's perception of reality begins to spiral into fantasy, the boundaries between life and ghostly existence bleeding together. Images of his lost loved ones, smiling yet sad, appear among the spectral choir. They beckon him, their eyes filled with a melancholy that mirrors his own forgotten sorrows. Ghostly hands reach for him, inviting him to join their fractured, mournful existence. Captivated, he teeters on the brink of merging with them, wrestling with both desire and fear of succumbing entirely. In a moment of lucidity, Thomas recalls Eliza, the explorer whom he had seen in visions. He realizes she may hold the key to his salvation or doom. Driven by the hope of rescuing her or finding some resolution, he pushes past his growing despair, separating himself from the coral web. Navigating through the twisting labyrinth of the cave, the pressing weight of haunting songs begins to relent, replaced by a determined silence. The cave's song fades, replaced by echoes of his own racing heart. Deep in the labyrinth, Thomas finds Eliza, or what remains of her, a figure entwined with the stone, her form barely recognizable under layers of translucent rock. She sings silently, desperately trying to communicate amid her stony cage. Her presence is a heart-wrenching reminder of the cave's tragic power. Taking one last risk, Thomas reaches out, fulfilling a sympathetic pact to free her from her terrestrial prison or join her in ghostly servitude. Thomas's final chapter is one of transformation. The act of reaching for Eliza breaks the curse that binds both the living and the souls within the cavernous depths. A crescendo of blinding light fills the chamber, lifting the shrouded darkness and purging the ghostly choir into eternal peace. Thomas collapses, clutching a now freed Eliza, as the haunting melodies dissipate, leaving only silence. In that quiet, the cavern transforms, no longer a haunted abyss, but a place of tranquil beauty. The final realization dawns on him. The echoes from the depths were a call for redemption, a severance of chains forged by forgotten sorrows.